guys, welcome back. It's your girl Toya T, and I realize I haven't done a video in a while about my locks, and I've been meaning to. I absolutely still love my locks. It's 4 years in, and I'm still in love with it, but there's a few things that people ask me, and especially those who are thinking about transitioning into locks, that I think you don't quite realize. So there's several misconceptions about what it is about having locks, and obviously there's also different kinds of locks, so everything is different depending on your hair type and the type of locks that you decide to have. In my case, I have palm roll twisted locks, even though when I do it personally, I palm roll them, but when I go to my hair salon here in Boston, they do a completely different method, but it's still twisted. So you can see, their meaning by that is that you can see that I have very defined, I don't know if you can see it, when it's freshly done, you can see that I have like defined parts. So there you go. There's a whole line right here that you can see that I have a square shape pattern of my hair, and each lock is individually twisted, you know, palm roll twisted to get them to when I'm redoing my roots. So that's one thing. There's also other methods you can use. You can also get what people call sister locks or interlocking, which is when they use a tool, like a crochet tool, and you have to be licensed to do so. And they literally make instant locks where they lock up your hair. They actually make like a stitch pattern with using the tool in your hair. So you have locks in like immediately, and also they can be much thinner. So those are the locks that you see where you can't even tell that they're locks, and people usually still use rollers and all kinds of stuff because their hair, I mean, like it looks like a strand of hair. And they tend to last longer too, so you don't have to retwist your hair, or I mean redo your roots as often as someone who has palm rolled locks like I do, where as soon as water hits it, it's gonna start unraveling from the roots. They usually, I think, can go for 3 months before they have to tighten up their roots. And there's also free forming, where you just let your hair, I mean, that's the real Rasta style, where you just let it just grow any kind of way that you want to. You just don't comb it out. You still wash it. So I think that's one of the misconceptions I'll talk about, that locks aren't dirty, but you just don't, you don't twist it, you don't comb it, you might brush it, but you just let the hair do what it wants to do. And if you have kinky textured hair like most people of African descent, it will just automatically turn into locks. It will mat up and turn into locks, and usually people just kind of pop them, so they like kind of pull it to make parts, or if not, they just let it grow. So if you see someone whose locks are going all kinds of ways and there's big roots at it, that they're most likely a free former. So those are different kind of locks for those who are interested in what kind of locks there are out there. You can also start with, another misconception is that you would have to cut your hair short, like have a little baby TWA or teeny weeny afro to start off locks, and you don't. I have a couple of friends that actually started with pretty long hair. Their hair was probably about this length or their shoulder length, and what they did is they started off with 2-strand twists, and they just left them. So, you know, the 2-stranded twists, they left them in, and then they just, when they were like a month in or so, or a few weeks in, they would start palm rolling and using gels or whatever they used to twist their locks. And eventually it would go from 2-strand twists, like actual 2-strand twist braids, to turning into locks. Like eventually it will lock over it, and that's usually the easiest way to do it if you are interested in keeping your length and don't want to cut it off, but want to start, you know, off with a lock style. So that's one way. There's another way that I'm not going to really advertise. I mean, if you're into lock extensions, more power to you, but that's also a way to achieve the lock style, is you can go to a loctician and they can put on faux locks for you. So you want examples, you can think of Ciara, when she did faux locks, which looked really, really nice on her, but she did it for a photo shoot. Or you're thinking about Nicki Minaj. I think she was wearing a wig, but when she did that video with Lil Wayne and Birdman, I don't know the name of the songs because I don't listen to all her songs, but she had like blonde locks. That was an example of faux locks. And usually when I see it is like they use some kind of hair and they just wrap it around or you get braids and they silk wrap it around your that braid or your hair to make faux locks, so they kind of look like a woven kind of thing. So that's an option if you're interested in trying out locks without fully locking and not committing to the permanent style that is locks. Another misconception, I just talked about it, is that locks are dirty. They're definitely not dirty. You can see I just washed my hair. It's absolutely clean. It smells clean. Yes. It feels light because there's no residue in it because I just washed it. But there is a misconception that locks are dirty, and they're definitely not dirty. People with locks do wash their hair. It's just that in the very beginning, when you have your baby locks, because they're all different stages of locks, when you have your baby locks and they're not quite locked yet, you're not supposed to shampoo your hair until I think 2 weeks in or 3 weeks in. And then after that, you have to be careful with the way that you wash your hair. So you can't try not to comb through it. You just kind of have to pat it and kind of wash like this, because if not, then you're going to ruin your whatever pattern that you have in your hair. You're also going to untangle the hair. So for the first few months, for me personally, I did not wash my hair. I did not wash my hair myself. I went to the salon every few weeks and let them wash it and retwist it because I was so afraid of it unraveling on me and having to spend more money and more time to get it to lock, because it took for me, I think, a couple of months for it to actually start locking. I remember the first lock I had was all in the back and it broke already. And not broke, but it just, I can't find it anymore because it used to have a distinct pattern to it. It was the first lock I remember. I remember the locks in the middle took a longer time to lock, so they were still loose hair, and it took them a while to lock, but it definitely didn't happen overnight. You have to have a lot of patience. People think that you lock your hair and then you're just done and you don't have to worry about things, but that's absolutely false. It takes a lot of patience. I think it takes a lot more patience than if you had natural hair, or loose natural hair, or if you had a perm or a weave or whatever. It just takes a lot of patience because you want it to look a certain way. You see other people's locks and you want it to look at a certain way. You want it to lock immediately. You want to be able to do a ponytail. You want it to be long. You want it to do this and this and that. And it takes time. It takes a long time. I think it took a full year for my hair to go from baby locks to about teen locks, where they're pretty locked up. They weren't going to unravel, but there were still some that were acting funny, and they really hadn't started to grow yet, so they were still really short. And even I didn't start with really short locks. My locks were probably about this long when I started. I think about this long when I started 4 years ago. Now they've grown down to here. But there's a misconception that it's just something that's super easy to do, and it's not. It's not super easy. You have to take care of your locks. There's also an idea that that they just stay the way they are and everyone's locks are the same, and you wish you could achieve someone else's locks. And the thing is that because everyone's hair is different, you have different types of locks. I see my friends, I have some friends that have some really beautiful thick locks, and I really wish I had really thick locks, but I don't have thick hair. I have really thin hair, so it just wouldn't have worked for my hair. I'd have 2 or 3 locks if I try to have really thick locks. And it's just the way that it turned out. They really puffed out when it was still teen locks. And I thought they were going to stay that way, and then they thinned out. My locks have thinned out to this, and this is what they look like, and this is what they'll continue to look like. They're not that big. And then I've also heard people who say that they wish their locks were as thin as mine, but it's you always will think the grass is greener on the other side. But it's just about loving your own locks, and I definitely love my locks, and they're not perfect. People, when they see your locks, that's another thing, that they think that they're perfect and it's great. And of course, since it's your hair, you know what the imperfections are. My locks are very much uneven because there's a lot of buildup sometimes when you start locking your hair and you use different kind of products, and they get trapped in there because you don't comb your hair out. It gets trapped in there. So I had a couple that got trapped in the back locks, and I saw them, and I actually started combing them out. So these are my shortest locks because because I started combing it out and going crazy trying to get out the lint. And before I knew it, I had taken off a good portion of the length. So if you look at the difference between this really back lock and then the one next to it, one row above, you can see the difference between the locks. So my locks are not even. There are some that are still very short. They also tend to break too, and it's natural, and it's annoying that it does that. Ooh, there's lint. Oh, I hate lint, but it's coming out because I just washed my hair. That is the truth. You can see it there. That is the truth of having locks. So you got that lint sometimes in your hair that is just so annoying. Oh my gosh, it makes me just want to comb some stuff out. But so yeah, lint happens. There's breakage, there's thinning. I've actually just, when I start seeing thinning locks, I started cutting them, although I know there are things like lock repair, and I'm trying to figure out how to do lock repair myself. So if you're watching my video and you know how to do lock repair, please let me know, and I'll do that. I think my salon also offers lock repair, but there is lock repair because sometimes they thin at certain places. Like, I'm trying to find one that's really thinning for you guys to see, and mine's usually thin at the ends. So you have this one right here, you can already see the difference, and there's thinning between there. Usually when I see that, I wait until the very last moment and I'll just cut it off. As my mom keeps telling me, it's like, you know, like loose hair. Like when you have split ends, you cut them off, and it's hair, it will grow back. Although I have one in the back that I'm really scared that it might break off at the root. This one in the back, because the base is not thick enough to hold the length of the lock, and I feel like when it gets longer and heavier, it's going to be a problem. So that is something that you have to worry about. And what else? Another misconception is that you have to cut off all your hair when you no longer want to have locks, and I know that's absolutely not true, seeing that I said that I combed out some of my own back locks. The hair can be combed out. So if at the end of the day I decide that I no longer want to have locks, and I know a friend that actually did it, she actually combed out her locks one lock at a time, and it's easy. It is quite possible to comb out these locks. You just start at the ends, and then you'll lose a lot of dead hair, but you'll still have a good amount of length left without having to like completely do a baldy when you are ready to do that. And I don't know if I will want to cut my locks off. I know when they get to a certain length that I will be cutting them, and probably cutting them to this length because I like this length. But I have no interest in having locks that are down to my butt. And that's just me. I don't want to have to sit on it, and they get heavy. They get really, really heavy. Washing my hair now is a bit of a challenge, and when it gets longer, which is getting pretty long now, when it gets longer, like I think I'll stop maybe around here. It gets here and I'll feel like, you know, one of my Barbie dolls, like, hey, look at me with my long hair. But then after that, I'm gonna have to cut that thing, because having really heavy hair and having to deal with like a big bun of hair is not cool. It takes a lot to take care of and handle and have it on top of your head and stuff like that. So I definitely will be cutting my hair, and there's tons of great things you can do, which is awesome, which I never even thought about, that you can cut locks and just like you do regular hair, and they'll grow back. It's hair. So I don't know, that was pretty much what I wanted to say about locks. If you have any questions, I've actually answered this for some people. If you have any questions about locks and starting locks, and you're thinking about starting locks, leave comments below and I will answer them. I tend to answer things within 24 hours, and if I'm really busy, 48 hours. But I would love to have a conversation with you guys about starting locks, the lock community. It's a great community to be in. I think it's absolutely great. I absolutely love my hair, even though it doesn't always have good days, but right now I'm still learning. I mean, 4 years in, I'm still learning different ways to style and maintain my hair when it's acting kind of funny, because right now it's looking nice and flat, but sometimes it looks like a big lion, and I've actually learned different ways to deal with that, which includes brushing. So I actually brush. It's probably laying down low because I've brushed my hair, and I brush it when it's loose every day, because it helps with getting out the lint, especially the lint that's loose and at the ends. And it's also just good for just for stimulating your scalp and your hair and getting these roots to stay down flat so you don't feel as tempted to retwist them as often. I've actually, because my locks are kind of thinning, I like not to retwist my hair too often. So the next time I'll be getting my hair retwisted is when I'm going to the salon, and the next time I'll go to the salon will be Christmas, because I'll have no other reason to have my hair looking nice or in a style. So I will be doing it then. Also, if you want to know about any salons, I can give you some suggestions. I lived in several different cities, but I definitely know about some good natural hair and lock salons in New York City and here in the Boston area. So just hit me up. Oh, in Atlanta too. I know about that too because I live there. So if you want to know about those places, let me know and I will give you the real. I'm not about that fakeness. I keep it 100. Oh my gosh, it's so ignorant. But anyways, get along. All right, see you guys later. Subscribe, comment, and share. Tell it to your friends. Share with your friends. Laugh, talk with me. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.